insane, psychotic, sociopathic bureaucrats and doctors and drug company executives. It's crazy. We'll be right back with Jon Rappoport and much more straight ahead, continuing here on The Alex Jones Show.
You are listening.
Continuing into the third hour of The Alex Jones today, this is Mike Adams filling in for Alex with our guest, Jon Rappoport from NoMoreFakeNews.com. Now, Jon, because this segment is not carried by all the radio affiliates, I want to depart for just a moment and get onto this. I've got a trace mineral block in my hand here in the InfoWars studios. It's about the size of a brick. Here, hold it up for you here for the camera. You can see on the Prisonplanet.tv. This is a mineral lick for animals, and the ingredients include zinc oxide, ferrous carbonate, iron, obviously, manganese, iodine, cobalt, and salt, and some other minerals. Jon, can you explain to our listeners, why is it that in America we use trace minerals to keep our cattle alive, but anybody who tries to prescribe trace minerals to humans is considered a quack? What's going on with that?
I guess the animals are more important than the humans. And secondly, the drug companies have a complete stranglehold, or trying to, on the market. So imagine what would happen if people began to take enough trace minerals in the right way so that their health suddenly blossomed.
Yeah.
Now, the people from doctor's office call up and say, well, you're scheduled for your check and we told you to come and so forth. Well, actually, I don't have to come because I have to tell you, I'm feeling so healthy, it's ridiculous. What do you mean you're feeling so healthy? You mean you're not sick? No, I haven't been sick in a long time now that I'm taking my minerals. What minerals? I mean, this is now, a distinct threat to the multi-trillion-dollar establishment. You can't have healthy people running around in the country.
No, you don't need minerals, Jon. You need a mumps vaccine.
That's right. You need a mumps
what your body
vaccine.
needs.
It doesn't work. Yeah, that's what you really need, Maybe they'll start putting minerals in the mumps vaccine, That'll be the way of combating the sales of natural minerals. It's just stark. It's that stark, Mike. It's the same idea, If you're marketing a product that actually works and it's not a drug, I mean, this is one of the reasons why they went after Stan Brzezinski so hard in Texas, MD, treating cancer patients with extraordinary results for decades now.
Yeah.
Has been subjected to how many grand juries? At least 7. They've been trying to shut him down, in every possible way. Well, one of the problems is that Dr. Brzezinski developed his own medicine. This is like the cardinal sin. No drug company is producing it. He produces it himself. Well, now you're really talking about, this is like holding a gun to the drug companies' heads. We have to get rid of this guy.
Oh, yeah. Well, check this out. So InfoWars, a lot of people drink tangy tangerine. So there's a bottle here on Alex's desk. I just grabbed it. Look at the minerals in this. This is the equivalent of the mineral supplement to the cattle that you want to keep alive. If you want to keep your people alive, you got to have minerals. So this has iron, magnesium, zinc, selenium, copper, chromium, and potassium, and plus probably some other trace minerals as well. But so, this is the kind of thing, if you want to stay alive, or if you want to keep your animals alive, you got to have trace minerals in your biology. But yet, if you go buy the sugar, if you go buy the wheat that's processed, the bleached white flour, all the minerals are stripped away. So humans are being fed this diet that is devoid of minerals. That's if it's even in the soil to begin with, which usually it's not anymore because the soils have been essentially mined for the minerals long ago. So, we have a nation of mineral deficient and vitamin D deficient people, and they say the answer is more drugs, and the drugs turn out to be total fraud. Wow.
Yeah, and the drugs strip other minerals out of your body. But, eating all the deficient foods is great business for the pharmaceutical companies because they say, well, this is terrific, no more topsoil, and they stripped all the minerals out of the food. Fabulous, because now watch them get
stay with
sick.
us, Jon. We got to go to break, sorry to interrupt. We'll finish up with Merck on the other side, and then we have a guest coming up, U.S. Army medic, straight ahead. Welcome back to the third hour of the Alex Jones Show. This is Mike Adams, the Health Ranger, editor of naturalnews.com, filling in for Alex today. Thank you for continuing with us. We're continuing. We held over Jon Rappoport for just a few minutes to wrap up this section. Blockbuster news about the total fraud and criminality of the pharmaceutical and vaccine industry. This is all becoming public knowledge now on the record. And then we're going to be joined in a few minutes by a U.S. Army medic he went through a very difficult court-martial because of his refusal to be injected with experimental vaccines by the military. He'll be joining us by Skype with comments on that in just a few minutes. But catching up and then wrapping this up, John, GlaxoSmithKline, again, pleads guilty to bribery, fraud, and other crimes, $3 billion fine. 2 Merck virologists come out and say the company spiked its blood samples, falsified its test results, and defrauded the government of hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, and they say, by the way, quote, the ultimate victims here are the millions of children who every year are being injected with a mumps vaccine that is not providing them with an adequate level of protection. The failure in Merck's vaccine has allowed this disease to linger, with significant outbreaks continuing to occur. So there we go. Merck's own former employees saying that Merck is causing the spread of infectious disease that their vaccines claim to actually prevent. But on top of that, John, here's where I want your comments. And thank you for staying with us. I really appreciate it. The Chatham Primary Care has filed a lawsuit against Merck now, claiming that they were defrauded by Merck because of a, quote, decade-long scheme to falsify and misrepresent the true efficacy of its vaccine. Says that Merck knows and has taken affirmative steps to conceal that its mumps vaccine is far less than 95% effective and that this has been going on since at least 1999. Wow, this is a long-standing, ongoing situation. So are you familiar with the details of that lawsuit, John, or do you have any comments on it?
Well, the comment that I have is I'm happy to hear this because since the Department of Justice will do absolutely nothing to prosecute the people at Merck responsible for this, then if you can pile on with more lawsuits, that's a good thing. If you can get different groups who were actually defrauded, just like this one was, to take them to court and say, well, we were defrauded too, so pay us out as well. Because what this is saying basically, Mike, is if a drug company defrauds intentionally 100 million people, those 100 million people deserve something in return.
Yes, at least a refund. If not,
at least a refund,
if not more punitive damages.
Quite a bit more because they were injected with something. It wasn't like you bought a toaster and it didn't toast the bread, you know.
It did probably toast their brain a little bit, though.
Right. So, yeah, you would deserve
stealth viruses.
More.
Well, yeah, but see, this is the big picture here is that there's immunity granted to the drug companies over vaccines. So you can't have a class action lawsuit now. So the government has created a situation where there is no justice for the fraud that's now emerging from the vaccine industry. There is no justice.
Well, that's what they did. That's how they covered themselves. The vaccine companies went to the government 10 years ago, a little bit more, and said, well, guys, basically, we're going to get out of the vaccine business because there's too many lawsuits and we can't make any money. And so there were meetings. They sat down in a room and they started to hammer out this whole kind of agreement. And the government said, well, you know, I mean, we got to keep making vaccines. I mean, come on. And the drug companies were kind of laughing up their sleeve. And they said, well, look, if you grant us immunity from lawsuits and you create some kind of hokey little government payout system with a lot of red tape, then we can make a deal. And the government said, yeah, sure, why not? We can do that. And that's what happened. And that's why you've got this very limited window of opportunity to make these drug companies pay for what they do.
Well, something has got to happen. Last drug company to be mentioned here today is Pfizer, now being sued by retailers over what is deemed an anti-competitive scheme. Many of the largest pharmacies in the U.S. are now suing Pfizer, and this is reported on by Reuters and other sources. The lawsuit claims that Pfizer obtained a fraudulent patent, engaged in sham litigation, entered a price-fixing agreement to delay the arrival of cheaper generic drugs, and entered arrangements with pharmacy benefit managers to force retailers to buy more Lipitor, their cholesterol drug. So now we have, look about all the parties that are potentially harmed in all this. Now we have the pharmacies claiming that they're the victims of anti-competitive, monopolistic, price-fixing behavior by Pfizer. This is getting deep.
Oh, yeah. This is getting very deep because, you know, if you're selling basically a fraudulent, dangerous product to begin with, it stands to reason that you're the type of criminal mind who will do whatever you can to maximize your profits, right? And so price fixing, we don't want those generic drugs on the market. We want pharmacies to keep selling Lipitor or whatever. They're going to do that. They're going to just keep pushing the envelope wherever they can. And now suppose they get fined. I don't know how much they're going to have to pay out, a few $100 million. Where does that rank against the sales of Lipitor?
Exactly.
It's just like, you know, a little minnow in the ocean.
Yeah, right. All right, last thing, John, then I'll let you go. Again, I appreciate your time. I'm going to ask you 8 or 9 rapid-fire questions. I want a yes or no from you, and whether you think, yes or no only.
Is this a pass or fail?
This is, yeah. No, you already passed. We just want your comments. Would Big Pharma engage in the following behaviors? Yes or no, Jon Rappoport. Number 1, would they falsify efficacy data on other prescription drugs?
Yes.
Would they exploit children for deadly vaccine trials?
Absolutely, yes.
How about this? Would they invent fictitious diseases to sell more drugs?
Yes, with exclamation point.
All right, only yes or no, no exclamation marks. No.
Sorry.
Would they? Okay, here's this might stump you. Would they unleash bioweapons to cause a pandemic that would make them money?
Yes.
Okay. Would they conspire with the CDC to spread fear about a pandemic to promote more vaccination sales?
Yes.
That's a no-brainer. Would they silence whistleblowers who try to go to the public with the truth?
Yes.
Wow, okay. Would they give people cancer via stealth viruses and vaccines to sell more high-profit cancer treatments?
Yes.
Would they destroy the careers of medical scientists who question Big Pharma and the vaccine mythology?
Yes.
This is all yeses. Okay, fine. Last question. Would they force a medical monopoly on the entire U.S. population via socialist healthcare legislation?
Gee, let me think about that. Yes.
All right. A+, Jon Rappoport.
Oh,
hey,
boy,
you got
okay.
A+ for you, man.
Send me my diploma.
I'm going to say you got a PhD for that right there. Thank you for joining us, John. It's always great to have you on.
Thanks so much, Mike. It's been great.
All right, Jon Rappoport, everybody, from nomorefakenews.com if you'd like to learn more from John. And John, thanks for playing along with my impromptu pop quiz right there. And yes, you passed with flying colors. Okay, now we've, I'm sure I'll hear about that later from John. Anyway, coming up now, we've got a guest joining us. Let me ask the producers, is he on the line? Not yet. Okay, I'm going to give you an intro of what this is all about. He is a U.S. Army medic, and his name is Sean, how do I pronounce his last name? Niemi or Niemi? Niemi? I think it's Niemi. Okay. Sean Niemi, who has gone through a very, very difficult time. He was court-martialed, essentially, went through a court-martial process. Be sure to keep getting him on the line. Let me know when he's on. He did not want to be vaccinated by the military's experimental vaccines. And so he filed for a religious exemption. He went to his pastor, and explained his beliefs. And by the way, he's being represented by attorney Patricia Finn, who is a vaccine rights or an anti-vaccine rights attorney who has been featured on InfoWars and InfoWars Nightly News as well. So he applied for the exemption, and that exemption, according to military law, is allowed to be granted to you as long as your commanding officer agrees to it. Well, his commanding officer, for some reason, did not agree to it and put him through what he describes as a hell type of experience. Oh, okay, his name is Niemi, I'm being told. That's the correct pronunciation of his last name. He went through hell. And he's now out of the military, and then the military actually took money out of his paycheck, he says, actually taking money from him while he was trying to get back on his feet with his family. It sounds like